Hello, everybody. Welcome to Amazing You, to another episode. And I am very excited. Today, we are going to introduce an incredible guest. So let me tell you a little bit more about the podcast. It is a space where stories of resilience, transformation, and hope come to life. Here we share powerful stories that remind us that even in challenging moments, there is always a path forward. I am your host. My name is Dr. Rani Thanacoody. I am a clinical hypnotherapist using rapid transformational therapy method. I am a Mars Venus life and relationship coach, breathwork coach, tarot reader, past life regression practitioner, and energy practitioner. Today, I am very, very honored to introduce you to my very special guest. Her name is Sandy Zeldes. Sandy is a subconscious healing expert. She is also a certified nutrition consultant as well as an advanced EFT practitioner with over 20 years of experience helping professional, successful women break free from shame, cravings, and self-sabotage, patterns that diets never address. She's a former celebrity chef turned healer. Sandy blends trauma-informed healing, functional medicine, and nervous system repair to create lasting transformation. Sandy is also the creator of the #1 bestselling DailyOM course, Healing Subconscious Blocks to Weight Loss. And she has been featured on NBC, Fox, CBS, ABC, and the Wall Street Journal. Sandy's mission is to help successful women release subconscious blocks, reclaim their worth, and finally feel home in their bodies with grace, truth, and zero diets required. Very warm welcome, Sandy, to Amazing You.
Thank you, Rani. I'm glad we made it. It's nice to be here with you today.
We are meant to be here. We've been waiting for that time. I've been waiting for that time to have you on the show. And I would like you to tell the audience briefly about your wonderful journey.
Yes, I would love to. I'll keep it really brief.
Yes.
A really short version.
Okay.
A food lover from way back. I was in college and thought I had a trajectory in one direction, and then I went playing with food, and it ended up creating a career for 20 years as a chef and doors flying open doing different things. It was very, very rewarding. And like so many of the clients I've had over the last 20 years, I was successful in many areas of my life, a high achiever, accomplished so many things, but I still had food cravings. And the secret wasn't changing, chairs on the Titanic, as I said, moving the food around or, having a new special diet or a new exercise protocol. It was about within me, right? And we don't know what we don't know. So it was subconscious. I wasn't aware of the stress that was driving it. And so I kind of fell on the result. It was many, many years ago now. I've been studying EFT for 30 years. But became a practitioner 25 years ago. And, I was playing with it because I loved the modality. I wasn't trying to fix myself, right? I was trying to grow. And it solved issues with my struggles with food. And so did the second key was also what I call ancestral nutrition. So those two combined were the shift. That was a lasting, lifelong change, right? So even under stress, people think that it's not lasting. This is a big misconception. Oh, well, I solved it for now, but it'll come back, right? No, it's not supposed to come back when you solve it, when you actually pull the roots out. So that's what I help people do, is pull the roots, the deep roots, not the leaves on the tree. And those roots are typically from patterns, which we'll talk about, right? So long-held patterns. And that's why the leaves keep growing. The leaves meaning the cravings, the behaviors, the sabotage behaviors that we do, the extra cocktail. And so, so that's how I got into it. You know, my love of food, my passion for working with the subconscious mind and the power of that I actually got into it to grow my business and to grow myself, not just to fix, right? So anyway, repeating myself, but that's the short version of the story. And I've been working with clients to do the same for 20 years. I have a 100% success rate with my program clients because it works. It's just when you shoot the arrow at the right target, you get the result. And when you know the path and you take the path in a deeper way, not a superficial way, but to get to the root, it can't not work.
I love that you say that. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Because if you look at the symptoms, you will not address the problem. The problem is always looking at the root, at the cause of it, and to extract it and to release it and to let it go. Yes.
Right. And it's not just about awareness, right? Because a lot of times we have awareness, but we don't have result.
Yes.
And so we might be looking at something for years and years, like most of my clients are trying this and that. But if we're not getting to the root and then actually addressing the root, right? So it's 2 steps. You have to know and you have to be able to release it properly, effectively. It's like psychic surgery in a way, what I do. You know, I'm always trying to find, did I get the root, you know? Because if not, it just does come back. So like for me, here's what I always say: the answer is not a temporary fix where your cravings are fine for now while everything's good. They're when you're with your family or a stressful event, or you're in a work situation that you used to find incredibly anxiety provoking, or you're in a social situation with your girlfriends and they want you to drink, you know, they're drinking a lot of cocktails, and it's the situational and the events. If you're at peace in those situations, then we got the root. Because you shouldn't have to change what's around you to change internally, right? So when people always tell me, oh, they're worried about an external situation. And I'm like, well, that won't be the cure. That's not the cure. If you can't tolerate, let's say, that difficult boss or that difficult relationship with your mom or sibling, and you need to eat, right? Or use a coping strategy with food or alcohol or other behaviors. That's not what we're looking for. So an example of that would be, I was just working with someone who used to be in certain situations at family meals, right? And it was very hard to say no because she's very close to her family and it's a big part of her life. It's not, it's almost daily, you know, and they have weekly family meals. And, you know, there's a lot of emotion around being with the family and, you know, not wanting to be different or not wanting to upset anybody or et cetera. There's all these thoughts that people have identity issues around food. And so when we clear the root of that, and I use the word clear, I don't know if that is, a lot of people don't understand that word, I think, when I say it, but when letting go, we let go of the emotional and the identity and the beliefs. It becomes a non-issue and you can eat the way you want to eat, right? Without the stress and struggle. And it sounds very simple. And if it's simple, then you don't need this work, right? But the people who it's not simple for, and it's very common. It's a very common issue why people can't get healthier. And that's why I love doing this, is because a lot of people know they want to get healthier, but they can't implement, you know? And implementation becomes, they don't know why they're stuck. They don't know why they're blocked. And they think there's something wrong with them. And so they want to keep going on the next cleanse or diet or whatever, or program. And it's within us, our self-care habits, our beliefs about food, our beliefs about ourselves.
Yes, and we don't realize how food plays such an important role in our life in terms of nourishing ourselves, but also in suppressing our emotions. We can push down our emotions by by eating chocolates and all those different stuff, or binge eating or dieting. So all these, it's very, very true, have such deep root cause in our childhood. It all starts there, and sometimes it can come from our past lifetimes as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's something that is not conscious. Like you're not aware as you're doing it, and that's the
Yeah.
whole point. It
Mm.
helps us stay numb. I mean, it
Yes.
numbs us to what's really going on. So many of my clients will tell me they had no idea. You
Mm.
know, as I do tapping, and it pulls layers back. And as they do it, they are become aware of feelings, and they're like, "I had no idea I felt that way every time." And I'm like, "Well, the food was working, so let's thank
Yes.
food because it was a coping strategy, or the alcohol." I think it's a really typical pattern for very um, high functioning women, you know, very high achievers or professionals who have this issue anyway, to have the extra cocktail. You know, they're not necessarily, I wouldn't call them alcoholics or categorize them. They're also feeling out of control about saying no to having an extra glass of wine, right? Or two or three even.
Mm.
And they do feel like it impacts their health because most of my clients are pretty health conscious. And
Mm.
so these habits are really making them feel like, wow, I'm working so hard and I care so much about my health, but then I'm doing this, you know,
Mm.
and I don't feel good afterwards,
Mm.
right? And I'm not the food police, and I'm not the diet police, and I'm not the alcohol. I don't have a judgment call. Um, but it's them saying it that they don't feel good,
Mm.
right? And so yeah, so it works. It works for us, and it numbs us out to really difficult feelings, complicated feelings for us. And they're complicated because they're not surface level,
Mm.
right? Because we have a lot of history typically beneath that. You know, we were talking about narcissistic relationships.
Yes.
I was telling you, Rani, that I think it's very interesting that I don't know the percentage. I would have to look it up again. It was a very high percentage of people who seek therapeutic help, right, of different types,
Mm.
uh, are often the victims of an abuser. And we think of abuse as physical, but the emotional abuse is very, very almost, it's worse. And it creates all these coping strategies. And I realized that in my practice, as I look back,
Mm.
I think that a very high percentage, I can't give it an exact, have the symptoms, the stress, the PTSD symptoms, the coping mechanisms from stress, from dealing with a narcissistic figure, at least one
Mm.
in their lives. And it doesn't
Right.
matter how back that goes. Yeah, it's very interesting. And they
Mm.
wouldn't necessarily identify that person as a
Mm.
narcissist, which is so interesting because it's like the water we swim in. We're just we're the fish in the water and we're just used to that water,
Yeah.
right? So it's normal for us. But when I hear them talking,
Mhm.
and now that I've learned so much about narcissism in the last 6 years, I'm looking at it and I'm going, hey, you know, if it quacks like a duck, you know, and it looks like a duck. And I'm like, look, I'm not going to diagnose and treat, but I do think it sounds like that you are dealing with these symptoms, to me, sound like they are related to the PTSD and, you know, the complex PTSD that happens after a narcissistic relationship.
Mm.
And that doesn't go away, as I know you know. It gets worse over time for us, those symptoms, if they aren't addressed. It's not something that heals with time. That's not how it works. It's very, very damaging to our psyche and our sense of self, our identity, uh, our cognitive ability. Of course, it has physiological
Mm.
um, symptoms. I mean, it's endless. I was actually going to read off a list, but I don't think it's necessary. There's so many symptoms that are so chronic and severe after coming out of that. Even a short-term relation. Let's say you have a
Mm.
boyfriend, not a marriage even, which is much more
Yes.
complicated, divorcing a narcissist, um, especially with children involved, but, or a parental figure, repeated chronic stress
Yes. Yeah.
that damages the way you see yourself. And it can be very hard to come out of that kind of identity where you see them as normal and
Yes.
you even feel sympathy for this person, empathy and love, right? And that's the trauma bond. And so this to me is fascinating. I've become fascinated that I can look back and I think that the cause of the food or addictive habits or the lack of the self-sabotage, I guess we could call it, right? With self-care and, the self-critique and the shame and blame is a symptom of PTSD from narcissistic abuse, whether we know it or not, right? So then once you can identify it and you can look at a piece of paper, I have people, we have to write it down and see it on paper because we can't believe it,
Yes. Yeah. So how would you define, for those people who are watching might not know how would you define narcissistic abuse in simple terms?
Well, so
Say.
I'm not a clinician and I don't
Yes.
diagnose and treat. So I think you are a clinician, so maybe it'd be better if you do. But when I look at it, I'm looking at the client I'm dealing with, and I'm not trying to diagnose and treat. The reason why I find it interesting and important for them is to break the trauma bond and to break the identity that we develop using the tools I use. It's not talk therapy.
Yes.
I want to try to help them break the very, 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 very defeating identity. And I'll give you two different examples of that because they're so radically different, what the type of narcissistic abuse. One was a marriage with a classic malignant narcissist. I mean, just trying to undermine this person and enjoying it, they aren't rational. We try to rationalize them. That's really one of the defining features, I think, is that you feel like you're going crazy because you're thinking like a person with empathy. They don't have that. And who cares why? Like we can talk about, people get into the why. We want to empathize too much with them. No, you have to immediately understand that they're not like you. That's the difference between, dysfunctional families and challenges and even an alcoholic family, right? Like you could see that as dysfunction. And of course it overlaps. It can overlap with narcissism. But the point I'm making is that to see them as having empathy for you, we have to understand that there are people who mean us harm, right? And so I think that's where the healing begins, is the separation of our identity from those relationships, being able to understand it fully. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
Because
does make
it's
sense.
very
Yes.
hard to understand. We struggle and we go in circles
Yes.
with empathy for them. Oh, but I love them,
Yes.
and so I feel like that re-traumatizes. So then we want to keep giving or doing something different or solving ourselves, which causes chronic, unrelenting,
Yes.
severe damage if we're dealing with a narcissist. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So it's not that I want to diagnose and treat that they're dealing with a narcissist. I want them to understand if they're dealing with someone who's pathological towards them.
Yeah.
And I understand it intimately myself. So I know how important it is to have that shift in perception. And so we can stop being traumatized, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, you made a very interesting point about how to stop being traumatized by those individuals, by this abuse from those individuals, whether it's parental or a partner abuse or even a boss. I have noticed as well with a lot of my clients, and I found that it's very difficult to heal from those relationships, those abusive relationships, narcissistic relationships, if you constantly live with that person.
Yes, yes.
I think because like you said, you will get re-traumatized again, and the healing will take very long time. And what do you think is the best way for somebody who has experienced this kind of abuse? What is the best way to start healing from this experience?
I always start with the individual and
Okay.
not the external. Just like with diets, it
Yeah.
isn't about the food. It's not about, I mean, it is and it isn't, right? So we start with how they feel. And it's kind of, yeah, it's identity healing work. So for example, I'm working with a woman recently, and we just worked on how she felt. I mean, we start where someone is at. Everyone's different. We're all different there's not a one size fits all. It's just, and what was really, really, really top level, what she needed to work on first was daily, all day long chronic stress with the ex. Every single day. And it was nonstop. And she was so angry, which was good. Anger is good, as opposed to she was filled with shame and blame too, because she thought, it was her fault. I mean, deep down, I think that's the worst part, is we blame ourselves, right, for how they're being. And she felt shame about the divorce and shame about it not working out, shame that she didn't have a husband anymore for her kids. And so she kept trying to stay involved. And so we just worked on what she was feeling, and then releasing as much of the anger and the hurt and the pain, and going back to the root causes of that, like incidents from childhood that taught her certain things. It's a layered approach, and she got much more relief from the anger and the hurt and the sadness and the grief. That was the first layer. And then, this is over several weeks, and over the weeks we then worked on feeling confident enough about herself, which was the hardest part for her, for a lot of people, to say no to him. And not even, when I say no, I don't mean verbally. I just mean not answer the text. That was the start. And it had to be her really moving at a pace she could do. It had nothing to do with, I can't just say, well, cut him off. It's like, well, sure, I did. Eventually I was like, how do you feel about legally? Do you have to respond to this text? Can you use the family system that is set up by the lawyers? And I forget what it's called. But the email system that they set up that's neutral. Because I said, his wife would call her in the middle of the night. And it was such a bound. I mean, they were getting away with it, just constantly attacking her. And she said, yeah, I don't think I have to. And so the first step was getting him off her phone, and then tapping around all the feelings around that, and not being triggered, right? Because she's intimately reactive to him, which she hired me to lose weight, right? But dealing with the subconscious, it's all about the stress. 100% of the time, and never anything else. And then everything falls into place when we release all of our chronic stress. It sounds so simple, but there's so many layers to it, and so much childhood stuff to the stress we hold in our bodies and the beliefs. So we're working on this layer, and it's tying back to a lot of childhood stuff, certain incidents, things that, just beliefs, identity beliefs. And as we're working this through, she's getting more and more and more and more peace. So she's sleeping better, right? She's self-care. She's drinking more water. She's making sure she eats breakfast. This all sounds trivial, but it's key for restoring your sanity and your hormone levels and your cortisol. You can't just, it's physiology too, right? We can't just beat ourselves into, she was working out like 7 days a week and getting up at 5, and then she has like a 12-hour day, and it's like, come on. You can't live like that, right? And then dealing with the chronic abuse, and so what do we do first? Well, we just work on her. It really sounds simple, but that's what works in my experience. And sure enough, week by week by week, she got healthier, healthier meaning sleeping more, making sure she's hydrated, actually caring for herself, eating a solid breakfast, getting up later, not working out so much. Believe it or not, that's a real no under chronic stress. I don't know why. It's a very, very big pattern out there that people will do more because they've gained weight when they're stressed. You need to do less when you've been under chronic stress. And interestingly, she didn't even think she was under chronic stress. This was just normal. Like I said, normal.
Yeah.
We all think it's normal when we're dealing with these chaotic personalities because it is our norm. And anyway, long story. So, but it illustrates the whole thing. And as she was healing, it became normal to go to bed and feel good and just take care of herself. And she has more to do, right? But there's like all these shifts that were exponential for her. He's now blocked. They only communicate on the app, and she doesn't respond at all, unless it's, I don't know, she has her criterion and she doesn't have any guilt around it or any emotional trigger, typically anyway. I think she's still upset about this for her kids, but it doesn't affect her on a daily basis because we worked through the layers, releasing a lot of chronic stress.
Wow.
Yeah, yes, and only in a matter of weeks. It's pretty phenomenal. And so it is possible.
Absolutely. I believe it is possible because I have a story I can relate to what you said a lot. I've experienced this kind of abuse, and it takes a lot of time, and it's about going at the client own speed, like
their own
you said.
That's right.
Yes, because you can't rush things for them, and they can't rush things if they are not ready, because it takes time for them to repattern, to rewire, to change their habits, to start to become more aware of life outside of that slowly and adopt new behaviors. Yeah.
Yeah. And the miracle is once you cut them off, you can see it.
Yes.
Like once you start to get some peace, and you release enough of the stress, it is released. It's like emptying a bucket. Yeah. Bucket can't be full. You'll still be triggered the whole time, even though they're gone. It's just because you cut them off doesn't mean you feel worse sometimes. So you have to release, this is a release technique. Let go of all the resentment, the anger, the rage, the hurt, the self-blame that keeps you like going back to thinking, well, why didn't it work? Or what can I do different? Or why don't they treat me well? Or why don't, and it's like stinging ourselves. We sting ourselves,
Yes.
And so that pattern, it has to be interrupted. And, but it is a good thing when you've, like, once the communication stopped and we were doing the clearing work, the release work, she was able to really see how, the word abuse is not the right word. It's like evil. Truly evil his behavior was. So harmful, like malicious. These are not normal people.
No.
It's not an innocent behavior. This was a malignant narcissist, and she was just like, I will not be subjected to that. It was a big shift, and it was lasting. It's not like she's going back. It was lasting and healing all her self-blame. Because then you're just stuck.
Yeah.
That it's your fault. It doesn't mean you don't take responsibility for being, we have to take responsibility, right? For our, but there's a way to receive a gift in the challenge if you choose to, recapture your sense of identity.
Yeah.
As a good person who loves people, and these are your good qualities, that got taken advantage of, and you just didn't know how to stop. You didn't even know, right? So I had her do a lot of reframing with that. I think that's really important, really important. And she could honestly say, these are my good qualities. Okay. And this is from Peter Salerno's work. I highly recommend that people look at that. He's amazing. Traumatic cognitive dissonance. And I really like the identity work of just simple. I'm not talking complicated, just jot down 5 things about yourself that are true. I'm a good person. I care for people. I have great friendships. Like these are typically all my clients can say that, and I have good girlfriends or friends. I'm very consistent with my work. I'm very responsible. You know what I mean? Like you repattern.
Mm,
Oh, I am a good person.
mm.
Um, oh, maybe that isn't normal behavior. You know what I mean? The
Yes.
intermittent uh,
Yes.
way they show attention, or attention's a big word. When they show attention at all, it's usually selfish,
Mm.
or something, and blaming you for everything, the gaslighting, rewriting everything that happens. So, um, yeah, it's this is the only place I feel like sometimes in the work that I do is when I deal with kind of the narcissistic personality is actually getting clarity about what's going on, because we feel it's chaos in your mind. It can be very chaotic for people.
Yes, it
That
is
makes
very
sense.
chaotic because the nervous system has been like hijacked. It's like they
Yes,
live in a constant state of survival, of fear.
that's right. That's right.
Yes. Yeah. And re rewiring the brain, calming the system, the nervous system. That's the part of the job that you do as well, helping clients to rewire their nervous system and repair the nervous system, which is such an important work because it does impact the gut health as well, when you live in
Yeah,
constant stress and
absolutely.
your nerves, inflammation in the body, it creates all sort of issues. Yeah. And how, I would like to ask you, Sandy, how can survivors of this kind of abuse learn to trust themselves again? Because their sense of trust has been completely damaged being in those kind of relationship. How can they learn to trust themselves?
By little steps. So
Mm,
we think sometimes it's this big, but it's the daily small actions. You know what I mean? So, um, step by step by step, when you take each little step, it grows and builds. And then you're like, oh, I'm learning to trust that I don't have to repeat this. Do you know what I mean? It's with
yes.
time. It's with
Mm,
time, and small steps really build quickly
mm,
until one day you feel like, I don't know why I didn't trust myself. It's them, it's the situation I needed to not trust. Maybe I believe someone when they're inconsistent or whatever, specific situations, right?
mm. Yeah.
Um, and carefully, you don't have to give people your trust, or
Mm,
sorry, yourself. I'm thinking of my client who was thinking of relationships, but when it comes to ourselves, it builds slowly with time, for sure.
yeah. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And my other question, I want you to help our audience today. What are some of the common red flags that people may overlook early on in those relationships?
Well, it depends, because sometimes it can go
Mm,
really well for
okay.
enough time, but usually I think red flags can be things going too fast
Mm,
and being too good to, almost too much attention and too much lavishing. They call it love bombing, but
yes.
it goes too fast. The relationship moves quickly. You knew. Usually, one of the actual red flags is that they know something is off, but they don't listen to their own, for whatever reason. For
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, just, oh, maybe everybody has their own reasons. And I'm thinking romantic. Childhood's different.
Yes.
Childhood's different because you just were raised by someone.
Mm, yes.
So it's already, you don't have any red flags. It's part of your identity.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not. But in a relationship, it's that initial phase is usually very fast.
Mm, yeah. Yes,
Don't
I
you
can.
think, Ronnie? Don't you think that's one of the biggest?
I think so. It's the love bombing, and the relationship goes very fast. And whenever there is something, they would blame you. They would say it's your fault, and they would say that you don't trust them,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
they feel that you are betraying them, even if you do something very insignificant that has nothing to do with betrayal. But for them,
Yeah.
everything is betrayal. It's like really confusing you, and they can get into a lot of burst of anger as well, like lashing out for very simple things and getting very angry and make you question yourself, question your sanity, or you, and they even can
That's
tell
the
you,
biggest one. If you
yes,
ever question yourself while you're,
yes,
and we're talking romantic, if you're questioning yourself too much, you
mm-hmm,
got it. That's such a big sign. I don't
yeah,
know if it's a red flag, but a big sign,
mm-hmm,
because that's not how it's supposed to be. You shouldn't have to be questioning with any friend, even a friendship or whoever. If you're constantly questioning what just happened, why do I feel so bad about, like, I feel bad, this stuff, I feel bad. Like, what did I just do? So, and not to say that we don't make mistakes and
mm,
upset people. I'm not talking about the occasional, but like that feeling of confusion, I think is a big one.
yes, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And we are coming towards the end. There's so much to ask you,
So much to talk
Sandy.
about, right?
So much to talk about, and so much to talk about what you do as well. But we've got only 35 minutes, and I would like to ask you one last question, Sandy. Where can our viewers and listeners find out more about the great work that you do and possibly connect with you?
Yeah, they can go to my website. I'm working on my YouTube page, but it's sandyzeldes.com, and we'll put that name in the link because I know it's hard to spell for people. Um, and the YouTube channel is probably best, coming soon. I'm going to change the name, but we'll put a link to it. And yeah, and that's the best place. Social media, I don't hang out on social media, so I'm not going to chat with people on social media, but they can find my Instagram channel at Transformation with Sandy, Sandy Z.
Fantastic, Sandy. Sandy, do you have any final message that you want to leave the audience today?
Well, since narcissism was kind of our main topic today, I think I want to say, like, so one of the things that I know, that one of the symptoms, whether someone identifies as dealing with a narcissist or not, one of the biggest symptoms is just this incredible, like, self critique and just getting really down on themselves. I think that's actually one of the biggest symptoms, the shame and blame. And I would say if someone's feeling that way, like, and maybe it's related to food, maybe it's related to weight gain, whatever, but you're dealing with some difficult stressful situations, I would say take a moment and just try to be aware that you're not alone. This is really common. And, is it possible that you're dealing with something that is causing this for you? Not that you're a victim, but that there's something much bigger going on that would be profound if you could heal it. And if you don't, it doesn't go away on its own. So I invite people to look much deeper and get really powerful peace and freedom in their lives. That's what I do. When you really look at the right target. So I invite them to look at this as something that is definitely solvable. And if they can look deeper, and then it solves a lot of things in their life, right? Because they've probably been dealing with this for so long that it's impacted everything, their money, their career, their relationships, their kids. Even though they have good relationships, a lot of my clients are cranky and irritable and frustrated, and that all goes away. they don't realize the water they're swimming in. It's just impacting every single thing. You know, a lot of my clients go on to radically improve their relationships and, you know, yes, with themselves and their kids and their husbands or their families, or create a new relationship, create a lot more money, you know, or sell a business they don't want and create a new one, or, you know, really powerful shifts. So this is a powerful moment if you're in pain, right? You can use it or keep kind of going on the same road, but it's a really good moment. Long answer, but I didn't mean it for it to be so long.
That's okay. I think that's important because it's such an important topic, and that I have seen that many people, many clients have been in those kind of relationships, and it's important to get help, and you have to be patient and compassionate to yourself in that process of healing, because you won't heal overnight, because there are a lot of layers to peel. So get help, and healing is possible, because once you start to look within yourself and peel those layers, it is life transformation in all your relationships, and how you do things, how you see life, and how you attract the great things that you want in life, and how you can start fulfilling your dreams. Because when you are in those toxic relationship, you don't even have a dream, you know, you are just surviving day by
You're
day.
surviving and you're
Yeah.
doing pretty good at it, right?
Yes.
All my
Yeah.
clients are really, they're just incredible. Like, it's
Yeah.
just they're suffering, you
Yes.
know? And
Yeah.
then they're, you know, what brings them to me anyway is that the weight gain, right? And it's a great thing because it's just a symptom. I'm like, good, it got you in here. Because it's a bigger problem. And I do want to give people hope. Like, look, when I work with people, I mean, I do tapping, it's subconscious, it's fast.
Yeah.
So the release is every session, you're better and better and better. It's not like therapy. I mean, it's deep. It's like a massage. Each time you get even better. And so cravings go away in a matter of hours. I mean, I only do, I spread them out because I think it's important. But if we did it all in a week, it would be a week, you know? So it's a
Yeah.
matter of a couple weeks working with me. Usually cravings is the first thing. And then we work on a lot of the other stuff that's impacting. So people don't have to be having cravings for like 6 months working with me. It's usually 3 to 4 max, even for the alcohol cravings, sometimes a little bit more, depending, you know, I don't have an exact. So it's pretty quick. And of course, those deeper roots are what is most important, that most people really need to work on.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all that, all your wisdom and all that you do, Sandy. It's been really enlightening for me to hear that, to understand more about this issue, because it's such an important issue that a lot of people experience, but they don't know what they are experiencing until
Yeah, and that's the reason why I wanted to talk about it, to be honest.
Yes.
Is because nobody identifies it. They blame themselves. And so
Yes.
my biggest takeaway for people is, if you're relating to some of this, consider that, well, clearly it's not your fault, but there's something causing this that is a driver.
Yeah. Yes. And I would like to say huge thank you again for your time, for talking to the audience today, Sandy. It's been really, really a pleasure hosting you, and I wish you a lot of success, Sandy. And please come back again. We need to continue that conversation more deeply in another time.
Yeah.
And I would like to say huge thank you to the audience for watching, sharing, and subscribing. And remember that you are amazing. You have always been amazing, and you always will be amazing. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.